Morning, ladies and gentlemen, council. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I have agenda in front of me. I'm wondering if there's any additions to the agenda. All right, seeing none, I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you, Deputy Reeves Scarson, for making that motion. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. At this time, I'm going to mention that Councilor Fideo cannot attend, but he's virtually attending. So, good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Thanks for letting me do this.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, we have the adoption of the minutes, regular meeting of council of June 24, 2025. Just looking for a motion. Thank you, Councillor Swaggart, for making that motion of adopting the minutes of June 24, 2025. Any discussion on this? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, I think we can go to DAs. So 7.1.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is development permit application 2025-D-121 for Herland Services Limited. The applicant is applying for a temporary work camp, July to December. The property is north of Hilda Lake at an existing industrial facility. Adjacent properties are treed and oil field quarter sections. The applicant would like to set up a temporary work camp for a well drilling program near this existing facility. It will host 18 to 20 employees, comprised of 7 skid shacks. The skid shacks have kitchens where the staff will prepare their own meals. Water and waste will be hauled in and out. They will utilize crew trucks to a maximum of 10 additional vehicles on site, and the shacks will be hauled out at the end of the drilling program. Adjacent landowner letters were sent out on June 11th, and we did not receive any concerns. Our recommendation for development permit application number 2025-D-121 is approve the request for a temporary work camp as a discretionary use as per Part 6, Section 66, and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw with the following conditions. Applicable building, electrical, plumbing, and sewer, and gas should be on there. Are required as per the Alberta Safety Codes Act, shall comply with Consolidated Public Safety Bylaw number 1812, shall comply with all provincial and federal regulations, and the camp is approved until January 16th, 2026, at which time a new permit is required or reclamation shall be undertaken.
Thank you. Any questions or someone like to make a motion? Yes, Councillor Swaggart.
Thanks, Mr. Reed. I'll just make the motion to approve the camp.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Swaggart, for making this motion. The council approves development permit application number 2025-D-121 for temporary work camp at Northwest 1664-3 west of the 4th M as a discretionary use pursuant to Part 6, Section 66 and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Herland Services Limited with the following conditions 1 through 4 before you. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Okay, I'm seeing, oh, you have some discussion, Councillor Swaggart? No?
Well, no,
I forgot to
I
shut you
didn't,
off.
but I
go
do
ahead.
sort of have a comment that was in the back of my mind, and I remember some years ago when we had lots of work camps, and it kind of got out of control a little bit there, and
Yeah.
it was, they call it the shadow population, and we lost, kind of revenue and stuff from tons of folks, but, I just hope it doesn't all start again, because it'd be nice if these camps, were in the community or not in the community, but they'd stay in hotels and stuff. But these are short-term ones, so this is fine. I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. I think we're gonna break because are we gonna have someone up online on 9:30? Yeah, okay. I think we'll break because I think it'll take us longer than 10 minutes to do this next one. Thanks. Okay, welcome back. Thank you. We have a delegation from HM Aero Aviation Consulting. And they're gonna come up on the screen here right away.
Perfect, thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Yourselves?
Very well, thanks. That's not a bad presentation view. Okay, thank you very much again for taking the time to meet with us. We just want to provide an update on the airport master plan process. Ben and I are here today to talk about what the process that we've gone through thus far and to kind of give some input or review where we're going with it next. So looking at the progress to date, we started the process, the master plan process in January of this year. In March, Ben and I were in Bonnyville for the site visit to look at the existing infrastructure and facilities, to have some targeted consultations with landowners on the airport as well as the Aurora Borealis area, and then also to run an open house for the public to attend. At that time, we also had an opportunity to address council. In June, we delivered our first deliverable, which was the interim draft report. The report kind of focused on the regional socioeconomic context and as well as demand for future aviation and existing aviation services. We looked at the airport's current use and its impact on the region, and then completed a strategic assessment of the facilities that looked into the priorities of the residents of Bonnyville and the council. So a lot of that information was gathered from the interviews from the open house as well as an online survey. We looked at the opportunities for the growth and diversification of the airport, and then also looked at recommendations for the future role of the airport. So that's kind of the main takeaway. Going forward, that interim report will guide subsequent phases of the master plan in terms of airfield development, costing, and financial forecasting. So today we are at this second council update. This is kind of where we are now, and then going forward, towards the end of the summer, so in September, we will be delivering a draft master plan, which will kind of incorporate those next pieces as I spoke about. In parallel to this will also be a detailed water and sewer servicing study to be completed by SEMA Plus. Then the third deliverable will be the final master plan. So after there's input from the county on the draft deliverable, we'll finalize the report to deliver in fall. And then finally, with the adoption of the master plan or acceptance of the master plan, we would foresee airport projects implementation starting 2026 and then moving on thereafter. So with respect to the interim deliverable, the interim draft report, at the beginning, we really wanted to get down to the understanding of the regional economic and social value of the airport. So there's kind of two columns to look at. There's the economic side on the left, and then the more the social community side on the right. So as is probably not a big surprise, one of the main users of the airport is the oil and gas sector, be it Cenovus, CNRL, Strathcona. So workforce charters represent about 13,000 people using or moving through the airport on an annual basis. Also used for infrastructure inspection, pipeline patrols, and then also helicopter-based logistics and construction support. And then on top of that, there's agriculture sector, so that would be represented primarily by aerial application, and then intercommunity access, so smaller planes moving around the region. On the enhancing safety in the community side, there's obviously access to medical care through Alberta Health Services and STARS. So an interesting fact about the airport is that fixed wing interfacility patient transfers represent about 237 transfers per year, but in the fiscal year of 2024 and 25, that was 361. So it's almost a patient transfer every day. The airport is used to supplement the Bonnyville Healthcare Heliport as well. In addition to access to medical care is also law enforcement, including RCMP, search and rescue, and wildfire response.
So when we transition from our baseline understanding of where the airport is today, the current value that it provides to both the MD, but also the surrounding region, the town, and other municipalities in the area, we next wanted to look at how the airport responds to the priorities of the region. At the end of the day, as a municipal asset, as a community asset, it should respond to the will of council, the strategic priorities of council, and also what residents and businesses that form the catchment area for the airport, what their priorities are, what their perspectives are. We explored the priorities of council, of course, through our presentation back in March, as Andrew indicated, but also through exploring the current strategic plan of council, the 2022 to 2027 strategic plan. There's three high-level through lines to that document, if you will, that also tie into the airport. The first being regional economic development and diversification. Andrew spoke to the baseline economic value of the airport, again, primarily tied to the oil and gas sector and its ability to do business in the region. But one of the key takeaways there is the need for the airport to be positioned as a economic development and diversification asset. Enhancing community safety. Second of all, again, Andrew spoke to that. That's primarily the air ambulance access, wildfire suppression, law enforcement, search and rescue angles of the airport, and also the prioritization of promoting community development. And I think that's best viewed as a combination of both the economic and the social sides of the airport. In exploring the council's strategic plan, there are also other key directions we noted. Those included ensuring the long-term financial sustainability of the airport to the degree possible. So minimizing where feasible the allocation of financial resources to the facility, and also exploring opportunities for a bit of a transition to a user pay model for the airport. So when major investments are made to benefit a given user group or one or more user groups, ensuring that those parties are also financially tied to the implementation of those projects where feasible and realistic. The community perspectives of the airport were explored, as Andrew said, through stakeholder interviews, the open house back in March, and the online survey that was advertised by the MD. And what we found, there's the graph on the right of your screen here, was overall quite positive levels of support, evaluation for the airport. As you see in the graph on your right here, across both aviation, business, and resident respondents, the three categories that we surveyed there, generally favorable views of the importance of having an airport that serves Bonnyville and the surrounding region. And when we dug into the rationale for those valuations, primarily that's grounded in the medical care aspect of the airport. So again, the air ambulance role that Andrew spoke to, and also its support for the oil and gas sector, which of course is one of the main economic pillars of the MD in the region there. So that really grounded those positive valuations. Digging across the different types of user activity at the airport, there was lower but still positive levels of support for the recreational use of the airport, so private aircraft, recreational purposes, and also the non-aviation use of the site. Again, lower levels of support, but still somewhat positive, but less significant than the air ambulance and the economic roles of the airport. And then when digging into community feedback, the written comments that were provided by residents and businesses, a few of the key themes that came out were ensuring that continued operations are ensured by the MD, pursuing economic development opportunities that may be realistic for the airport and that add value to the surrounding region. A lot of comments about the potential feasibility of a scheduled passenger air link that no longer takes place at the airport, but a desire for reconnection. And also a number of comments that were made primarily by landowners in the vicinity of the airport about the impacts of the airport in terms of noise, disturbance, and if activity levels increase, how those would correspond. With that, we then went into a strategic assessment using what's called the SOAR model, so strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and risks. We spoke to a few of these points back when Andrew and I were in front of council in March there, but just to highlight at a very high level a few of the key strengths of the airport as it stands today. Fairly comprehensive infrastructure and services, again, 4,400-foot runway, paved, new lighting system, apron for aircraft operations, and pretty good instrument approaches. Since the MD assumed ownership of the airport, there has been a lot of progress made on the winter maintenance service levels that's been met with favorable feedback by aircraft operators and air ambulance. And we also see interdepartmental collaboration used by the MD across economic development, public works, and transportation to advance priorities relating to the airport. So it's less siloed off as one part of the municipality. Instead, it's more of a cross function of skill sets to move the facility forward. As I spoke to in the previous slide, positive levels of community support and value to the airport, and also kind of the unique aspect of its proximity to Aurora Borealis, again, a sort of a full mixed aviation, non-aviation industrial park in immediate vicinity to the airport, which is a bit of a unique thing in the Albertan context. Aspirations for the airport primarily tie back to that strategic assessment that I just spoke to, ensuring its social value for air ambulance, wildfire, law enforcement, search and rescue, increasing where possible its economic impact to boost the prosperity and economic productivity of the region, maximize its financial sustainability, and again, to the extent feasible, decrease the financial resources required by the MD to operate the facility, and build on the current baseline administrative model to ensure effective administration and operations for the betterment of those different aspirations. In terms of the opportunities that were profiled for the airport by our team, you can consider two buckets, if you will. One's the growth of existing forms of activity that take place at the airport today, That includes oil and gas sector charter traffic, private hangar development, private general aviation, and also air taxi and aerial work operations. So like Andrew mentioned, pipeline patrol, movement of aerial construction, and bringing folks to and from the community. And in terms of new opportunities not currently taking place at the airport that might represent prospects for diversification, those include pursuing general aviation commercial businesses. Examples of that would be aircraft maintenance, refurbishing, specialty suppliers that tie back to the forms of activity that currently take place at the airport today. And also delving into a lot of momentum that's building in the broader Alberta hub region regarding RPAS, or remotely piloted aircraft systems, more commonly referred to as drones, as UAV platforms, those being leveraged for aerial work and logistics. So pipeline patrol, movement of goods and cargo between sites there. We have seen a lot of progress in the hub region on those, going through research and development and hopefully heading to commercialization in the years ahead, and the airport may play a role in that. The final opportunity we identified is pursuing external partnerships. So whether that be upper levels of government, major economic stakeholders in the region, or private investors in the airport, leveraging partnerships to move the facility forward so that's not just the MD kind of going it alone there. A brief point here on some of the risks of the various aspirations and opportunities of the interim report being realized in the future. As Andrew mentioned, a significant degree of the traffic at the airport is tied to the oil and gas sector, Cenovus, CNRL, Strathcona. Volatility in the market has the potential to affect activity levels and the user base out there. Conversely, positive upswings in activity in that sector can boost productivity at the airport. There is also a degree of reliance on external service providers for critical services. Mainly that's the fuel systems that are out there. Those are external to the MD, are a key part of the airport's functionality, but are not currently under the oversight of the MD. Long-term suitability of the infrastructure out there. I'll speak to that in a moment here in terms of the needs, the future needs of different users there, but the site is constrained on both sides by roadways and private property. So the expansion feasibility of the site does have some limitations. And finally, competition between airports. Aviation demand is mobile. Some of the activity that takes place at Bonnyville could, for example, take place at Cold Lake or Lloydminster or other airports in the region. So there is a bit of inter-airport competition for the realization of the opportunities that I spoke to previously. This next slide is a bit of a visual overwhelm here, but I'll talk through at a very high level 3 strategic directions that we laid out as recommendations, or I guess options, in the interim draft report. And kind of the key differentiating factors here are the extent to which capital infrastructure development, so the expansion of the capital assets of the airport, is pursued, relating back to the pursuit of different economic opportunities, those different growth and diversification opportunities. The first scenario distilled down is essentially making use of the existing assets at the airport as they are today, pursuing economic development that can operate in that current runway length, current apron size, current terminal building, not pursuing major infrastructure growth projects, obviously taking care of life cycle asset maintenance over time, but again, largely advancing the status quo and minimizing the financial risk associated with new investments in the facility and kind of carrying on as we are today. The second scenario, and this is kind of the core recommendation of the interim draft report that our team put forth, is what we refer to as proactive economic development and supported by modest asset build-out. So that comes down to assessing the needs of current users, oil and gas sector charters, air ambulance, other operators, and identifying where there may be capital expansion projects that could improve their ability to operate at the airport, do business better, and grow their activities out there. The level of capital asset expansion might be moderate. That could see things like a runway extension within the current footprint of the site, perhaps the expansion of the apron, the redevelopment of the terminal building. Likely still operated in the same manner, a registered aerodrome with non-dedicated staffing. Low to medium financial risk. Obviously, as you build out new capital assets, that can come with financial risk, particularly if the activity segments like oil and gas that are driving those investments has a downturn. But representing kind of the middle scenario of the 3. And the final scenario that we laid out was the proactive pursuit of scheduled passenger services. This one represents the greatest level of financial risk to the municipality for a few factors. One is the level of organizational and operational change that would have to take place. The airport would need to be certified to Transport Canada standards, operated with dedicated staffing at higher service levels, and be subject to greater regulatory oversight by TC. There might be significant asset expansion requirements in terms of the passenger processing capabilities of the airport, the runway length tied to regional air carriers, and other factors like ground handling capabilities. And with the current position of the regional air travel market, as Andrew and I spoke to back in March there, again, aircraft are mobile assets. Even if a regional air carrier is attracted to the airport and the MD brings in all these initial investments and ongoing operating costs up front in site to accommodate this form of activity, that activity can also, just as fast as it comes to the airport, leave as well. So characterized by a higher level of financial risk, especially given 5 years of instability in the regional air carrier market in Canada. So as laid out through our interim draft report, and I'll come back to this in the role statement in a moment, that second scenario, while preserving the flexibility to potentially pursue scheduled air services in the future, was our prime recommendation of the interim draft. Under that light there, we have a 4-part role statement for the airport that we recommended be the foundation of future planning efforts in the latter parts of the master plan. First and foremost, ensuring that the airport is positioned to ensure community safety and well-being, so enabling those crucial air ambulance, search and rescue, law enforcement, and wildfire roles of the airport, ensuring that the infrastructure of the operations are tied back to removing barriers that being attained on site, enabling the operation of current economic sectors. Again, primarily that's the oil and gas sector and the charter traffic that moves through the airport, again, removing barriers to their ability to do business and operate at the airport. Third is more of a future-oriented focus on economic diversification. So once we've covered off our current users and current pillars of the economy, now moving on to what opportunities are realistic at the airport to be attracted and sort of broaden the different forms of use that happens out there. And finally, where it aligns with sort of the preceding 3 roles here and fits with sort of the vision for the airport and how the MD wants to allocate financial resources, accommodating private and recreational use of the airport and kind of that community angle. In later phases of the master plan, we'll have some principles that, depending on the discussion today, we'd like to carry forward in our more detailed technical planning. High level here, just prioritizing aviation safety and operational best practices at every turn here. It's very reflective of how the MD has operated the airport to date, and we want to carry that forward through our planning. As I mentioned previously, ensuring that we have the flexibility to pursue certification to Transport Canada standards in the future, if warranted, if the pulse of the regional air travel market improves and scheduled service might become more realistic. We don't want to handcuff ourselves through infrastructure or operational choices in a way that would preclude that in the future. We want to maximize the efficient use of current capital assets and also consider the life cycle asset management implications when we're recommending that new facilities be developed. It's not just extending a runway, it's considering 20 years or 25 years in the future when that new facility needs to be rehabilitated. All those things come with long-term financial obligations there. So again, prioritizing the efficient use of what we have today and carefully considering any expansion in the future. Exploring financial models for tying new investment and improvements in operating service levels to the actual users that'll benefit from them, the end users, the customers that'll benefit from those projects there. And finally, limiting impacts to the natural environment and also considering the impacts of airport operations to community members living in the vicinity of the site. So with that, Andrew and I are happy to take any questions of council on the interim draft report or kind of the findings we have to date on the master plan project or on where we'll be heading in the coming months here with the MD. We can shut up sharing screen.
Thank you, guys. I have Councillor Swaggart.
Thanks, guys. Certified airport, is that, and that's option 3. Is that CATSA standard at that level? How do you define certified?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. So the certification element is related to the operation of the airport itself. Currently, the airport is run as a registered aerodrome. It's subject to very minimal regulatory oversight by transport. The MD has a great degree of latitude in how it runs the facility. When you transition to being a certified airport, a lot of the conditions for how you run your airport have to be approved by Transport Canada, and then you're responsible for meeting those conditions on a day-by-day ongoing basis, and you'll be audited on the degree to which you meet those responsibilities on an ongoing basis. So that's separate from whether you are approved by CATSA, the Canadian Air Transport and Security Authority, to host screen passengers on scheduled flights. Becoming a CATSA-approved airport would be likely one of the factors you'd have to overcome in that third scenario there. They have to designate you as being eligible for CATSA screening, and then delve into a cost recovery model for how CATSA might provide security services for passengers and baggage for a passenger flight. So likely CATSA eligibility and authorization would be part of that third scenario, but it's not tied directly to certification.
I brought that up though because this area, like lots of other areas that don't have airports that can handle passenger traffic, right? They don't do it. So, people who come here, look up Bonnyville on the map and, figure they'll fly into Bonnyville or whatever, because they've got work to do. And then they realize they got a 3-hour drive from Edmonton in a rental car. And man, that's hurt a lot of, it's hurt a lot of business and stuff. And, I worked on Four Wing for years, like 35 years. And the unit I worked in, they shut it down because there was no airport transport, to Edmonton. And so it's like, holy crap, they just lost a huge unit. And, because the military were complaining that they had to take a bus to Edmonton. And so, and you look at Comox, and when they opened up the airport in Comox to public, it just opened up the whole area. So, I guess I'm just going to ask maybe our admin sort of what they would recommend for those options, because you guys picked 2, and I'm just kind of curious what maybe our guys, because I'd love to see, scheduled services here, and you talked about lengthening the runway, and that's been talked about over the years. We've had, airlines that ran through here. There's 2 of them that I know of, and they had scheduled services, but they talked about, man, if you could extend the airport length, then it would just give us more options too. But I'll just ask our guys to maybe speak a little bit about option 3, because I'd like to see us do that, but maybe it's a pipe dream anyway.
And I think it's a good, sorry, go ahead, Scott, my apologies.
To Councillor Swaggart through the Reeve. So when we take a look at our business and industry growth strategy and the strategic plan put forward by council, and we talk about economic diversity and we talk about the strength of the airport, from an economic development perspective, we would recommend option number 3. And to a little context, and perhaps the folks at HMRO could provide some context, although it's nothing would be guaranteed at this point in time, but the provincial government has a economic development plan, and part of their economic development plan includes strengthening the regional airport network and increasing the passenger capacity in rural Alberta. So Ben, if you could speak to that, please.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. And I guess through the Reeve back to the councillor there, I think it's a good area of feedback. Scheduled passenger services were mentioned repeatedly during stakeholder and community consultations there. Sort of our interim recommendation, our draft recommendation was based on, I think, the financial risk that comes with pursuing there. But granted, this is why we come before council here, is to understand how the airport relates back to your strategic will, your strategic priorities. As Scott pointed out here, we have seen the province of Alberta become a bit more involved and recognize that they need to be a bit more involved in advancing regional air services in Alberta. They do have a task force. The Strategic Aviation Advisory Council is examining long-term needs for regional connectivity and potential supports that would be available to help carriers succeed in the regional market, especially on the heels of 5 years of challenge in markets like Lloydminster and even Bonnyville and Cold Lake back when there was the carrier through the Medley terminal withdraw from these markets. So I think it's a good area of feedback that we can carry forward in the later phases of the master plan if this if the strong priority for our administration and council is we want to dig into the scheduled market and see if there's an opportunity to be made there and what that would take. I think that's a great area of feedback for our team.
Mr. Reeve, yeah. I mean, you've talked to Four Wing, you know what's happening on Four Wing. Deputy Reeve Carson and I were just talking about, you're going to have 1,000 people there building hangars and bringing in equipment. And I mean, and then with the new airplane, the F-35, but so that stuff's kind of coming, but a few years away still. So I don't know, I think there's kind of opportunities to try to tie it all together. And so these 1,000 guys don't have to drive from, unless you got a cab service or something and you're making lots of money with cabs. They'd love to fly from, Edmonton or whatever right into Bonnyville. Anyway, thanks.
Councillor Fadeev.
Yeah, thanks. Just a quick question for you guys. You guys never mentioned agriculture in your little bio there. There is an agriculture service group out of the Bonnyville Airport. Why wasn't that captured in your report?
Through the read to the councillor's question. So we did have the opportunity to consult with Bonneville Air Services, the aerial applicator that's based out of the airport. In speaking with their team, again, I'll never lay claim to being an agricultural expert. We go to the experts for that there. The way that the individual we consulted characterized the demand for aerial application in kind of the MD, the surrounding region, based on kind of the field size, the topography, and the business model of aerial applicators, whereby they're getting paid per acre as opposed to per hour, the length of time that it takes them to spray, to do aerial application in the surrounding region compared to, let's say, southern Alberta or up in, towards Peace River, where the land assemblies are a bit more open. It's easier to kind of do long patterns back and forth across the fields up there. That individual we consulted's view is, that dynamic somewhat negatively influences the realization of aerial application demand in the region. It's just less efficient sometimes. With that said, there is a base level of activity for aerial spraying that does take place from the airport, and it's a very functional asset that if an aerial applicator does identify need to run from there, they can certainly do so. But that consulted individual sort of made the comment that other markets were more aligned with the business model of aerial applicators than the surrounding region is. So hopefully that addresses your question, Councillor, and if not, happy to give follow-up there.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much. Now, regards to service companies, I was talking to a gentleman that was working, he's a pilot, he's a helicopter pilot, and they're, I guess, assessing pipelines and monitoring pipelines. And they're out of Edmonton, out of Villa Airport, and actually his home base where he lives is in Medicine Hat. So he's kind of all over the place. What are the possibilities of our expansion, I guess, utilizing these types of groups?
Yeah, through the reeve to the councillor, I think that's another good point. As you've suggested, that form of activity does take place at the airport today. Even to use an example, when Andrew and I were out in March there's a Cessna 172 or a 182 of a company called ISS, Integrated Surveillance Solutions, I believe. That form of activity, again, responds back to the characteristics of the region, again, the linear infrastructure, the oil and gas infrastructure. A lot of the forms of users that currently provide that form of business, like pipeline patrols, aerial inspection, are generally operating smaller aircraft, Cessna series aircraft, helicopters that largely can operate unrestricted at the airport today, especially with the fuel facilities that are available out there. And we'd expect to be kind of a continued part of the airport's economic value, a mainstay of its use in the future there. So that's a user segment that has less current restrictions on its operations compared to charter traffic, for example, the larger scale forms of use, but certainly is a part of the airport's economic value today, because obviously having that ability to operate from the airport while inspecting assets in the region improves their safety, improves their kind of functionality for the end users there.
Great, thanks. So in your professional opinion, is it worthwhile for us to concentrate on the commercial end of it? I guess there's a lot less risk as far as getting flights coming out of here for residents, but on the money making part, as far as our development goes, is that where we should be concentrating on?
It's a fair, through the reeve to the councillor. I think the way that we've structured our recommendations right now, and kind of think back to that 1, 2, 3, 4 role statement there, ensuring that the needs of kind of your current major economic users at the airport, again, Cenovus, Strathcona, CNRL, are met, and kind of those are parties that are already making use of the airport, and they already have a very defined and quite significant economic impact to the MD. We want to make sure that, before we consider opportunities for diversification, and the two can happen in parallel, but before we're going into diversification and new opportunities like scheduled passenger services, we want to ensure that we're not kind of losing out in our ability to meet the needs of what's currently happening there today and is already kind of tied back to the economy. Realistically, let's use the scheduled passenger service piece here. Any investment in the airport to pursue that form of service, to attract that form of service, will likely have ancillary benefits for Cenovus, CNRL, Strathcona. A longer runway benefits you, whether you're WestJet Encore or you're a charter for Cenovus, for example. So the two can coexist in parallel, and it sounds like definitely a will of council is more of an aggressive approach to diversification, particularly on a sched service piece there. But that's kind of the way we sort of framed it there, is we want to make sure that what's happening there today has its needs met. And then once we've established that base there, now moving into how do we grow beyond what's happening right now there.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I just kind of have to echo some of the comments that Councillor Swagger made earlier about camps. We shouldn't be too excited about seeing commercial aircraft for Cenovus and for Strathcona grabbing their workers and moving them elsewhere. We would like to, we love to see those workers have a car commute versus a fly in, fly out. Those jobs, those workers get paid a lot of money, and we would love for them to spend their money in the community versus flying out to Kelowna or wherever else and spending their money there. Kelowna weather is nicer, but still, right? This is kind of where we're at. But yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Reid. You just have to hit your button there. That's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was just, again, I guess maybe a comment a little bit about runway widths and lengths right now. Like, I mean, this may just, if we do nothing, it'll just kind of stay as it is forever. But what's your recommendation, though, for, runway width and length? I mean, because we still have the opportunity east to lengthen if we decided we wanted to. And anyway, there's that opportunity still. So I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are.
Through the reeve to the councillor, I'll bite my tongue on giving a number right now on a preferred runway width, preferred runway length. Once we've got the direction of council today, which it sounds like we're heading towards here, our team will start doing kind of the detailed technical analysis of what your design aircraft is based on target user segments and what its performance requirements are for Bonnyville. I think I'll hesitate from giving kind of a number right now. That'll come out through the detailed technical analysis in the next phase of the planning work and come back to council for consideration.
Okay, I was just kind of thinking that if you, you probably kind of know the answer anyway, but if we wanted like an 80-passenger airplane versus a 40, do we have to extend the runway by 400 meters, or do we need, is it kind of just off the top of your head, what's the next step up? Or maybe you don't have that
through
on
the
the
reeve
top
to the
of your
councillor. No, I mean, with the caveat of it being a ballpark, and again, through the reach to the councillor, currently we're at around 4,400 feet. I think you're looking at kind of the 5,000 to 6,000 foot range for kind of representative, regional turboprops, the Dash 8-400 series as a 78 seat, for example, there. That's a good ballpark. Again, further technical planning to be done, but that's sort of 5,000 to 6,000 foot range. So an increase of 600 feet to kind of 1,000 plus feet will be likely the realm of what we're talking about here. And widening as well to probably a width of 100 feet.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Crick.
Yeah, I know the airport's in my area, but I've never taken off in a plane there. Just wondering, does the current runway go like all the way to the road, or can it be extended without moving the road or not, or where are we at with that?
Through the reeve to the councillor, on the east end, and I apologize, I don't have the rural road names necessarily. On the east end, the cave service comes basically as close as you can get to that kind of range road, that township road there. On the west end, where it kind of comes up against the provincial highway there is some room, again, round numbers here, for probably a 200 to 300 foot extension. Like I mentioned, some of the technical planning work we'll need to do is considering the height clearances over the provincial highway, the neighboring roadways. And that can, influence the takeoff distance versus the landing distance, a lot of different factors there through the use of displaced thresholds and things like that. So there's room on the west end for a little bit of expansion of the asphalt, probably again in that 200 to 300 foot range there. And how that would impact aircraft performance, we need to assess further based on those obstacle clearances. So if we were looking in the realm of trying to get to 5,000 feet or 6,000 feet, there may be limitations in terms of the current property footprint there. But like I said, too, we'll have to take a sharp pencil to that through the subsequent work of our team and get a better sense of that.
Yeah, this is maybe more directed to council than anyone else, but I did have a resident run into me in the grocery store, and they were concerned from the open house that we had plans to extend the runway, and I hadn't honestly heard anything up until that point. So that's just kind of for information.
Any other questions, council? Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, for your report here today. It was very well done, and thank you for all the information. And if there's no further questions, I guess, yeah, we have one more. Hit the button.
Yeah.
There we go.
And Scott mentioned this, but are you guys also kind of helping us with looking at federal and provincial grant funding? And I'm not sure if that's part of what you were supposed to do, but is that available? And just kind of financially, how many smaller airports like this that actually even have commercial make money, or are they always kind of funded by the local, councils and communities and stuff?
Through the read to the counselor, I think there's a good two-part question to be had there. When we're considering capital investments in the airport, whether life cycle asset management, so rehabilitating what you have today, or pursuing the expansion of assets, so again, a runway extension just for sake of discussion here, our work in the master plan will include a profile of potential opportunities financially, whether through grants or external partnerships, or how those projects may move forward. In Alberta, for example, with your primary runway, the province of Alberta has the Community Airport Program under STIP, the Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program. That'll fund 75% of a airfield runway rehabilitation project, for example. On a runway extension, the terms of that program limit it to 1/3 provincial funding, 1/3 municipal, and 1/3 private sector, so a lower level of funding compared to the rehab of existing assets. But as Scott indicated, what we are seeing right now is an increased propensity by the province of Alberta to be involved in the advancement of regional airports. They've invested considerably in Red Deer Regional Airport as one example on building out that facility to support scheduled passenger air services and also airside land development. So we'll be exploring different models of partnership with upper levels of government and the private sector for how any projects we recommend through the master plan, how they could be advanced from a financial perspective. On the operating piece and whether comparable airports are financially self-sustaining, or whether they also operate at an operating cost that's borne by the municipality as a municipal service. Our team did a study back in 2024 on behalf of the Alberta Airport Management Association for about 90 airports across Alberta, comparable in ownership by municipalities and kind of roles there. So not the Fort Macs and the Calgarys, but the Lethbridges and the Medhats and the Bonnyvilles and the Lloydminsters. That study found that about 90% of those airports are reliant on some form of external financial support, whether for its operating costs on an annual basis or major capital projects like the rehab of existing assets. So it's certainly not an uncommon condition for airports comparable to Bonnyville to be operated at a net operating cost that requires the allocation of financial resources. Again, municipalities that choose to do so have an economic and or social case to do so, in the same way that you have other justifications for the provision of municipal services. So it's not uncommon to be in this form of financial position. But I think one of the key through lines that we took from Council's strategic plan was exploring opportunities for revenue generation that, to the extent possible, let's limit the scale of that cost revenue gap there. We may not close it, but can we shrink it to the extent possible through exploring opportunities for revenue generation.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fadеев, would you like to say something?
Yeah, we've been in discussion with Minister Grisham's office about possible grants for the last year. So I guess our ask was too big of an ask. So we're in the process of trying to get a commitment from them as far as like a 2-part grant versus just a one big shot. But yeah, for sure they are open to all the grants and possibilities for that. So yeah, we have some money away for our grants in our bank, but we just need the province to step up, and I think we should be there this year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. It was well done. Have a great day there.
Thank you for the opportunity, Council. We look forward to getting back in front of you again with the master plan.
Okay, have a great day. Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, I guess we're looking for a motion. Does anyone know where we want to go with this motion, though?
Well, I got sort of
Yeah, go ahead.
it's maybe a For, a motion, but how do we direct these guys kind of going forward to, I'm not sure if they've got their kind of marching orders as to what we want them to do, but do we need input from admin to direct them somehow, or what do, because I mean, I hate to see us kind of just, this is a paper study and it sits on a shelf somewhere, but.
Councillor Swigert, through the Reeve. So basically, what we've got in front of us is an opportunity for us to drill down very specifically and save us some time and energy. The options are for us to, as presented, option one, to continue to operate the airport as efficiently as we can under its current circumstances. Number two is to pursue some minor economic development activities. Number three is for us to have them bring back to us the study and master plan in such a way that it reflects our needs or wants to pursue passenger service, right? And so what'll happen then is all of the things that we discussed, previously here today about grants and about costs and about expectations will be drilled down to, right? So instead of them providing us, as you say, a piece of paper that's got a bunch of options, we can, and maybe even have the opportunity of them saying, well, we should do a further study to go and pursue the one once you've decided. We're short tracking that, we're giving you that opportunity to short track and say, we're gonna go and pick one of these options. And then the paper will actually reflect that. And then, the important part here is that in any one of those options, they're gonna provide us with, a prospectus for 20 years. They're not going to tell us, okay, here's something you could do over the next couple of years. They're going to tell us or project what those costs would be and what our investment would be, human, financial, physical capital that we have to in order to maintain that aerodrome or airport at a certain level for the next 20 to 25 years. And so with the, from the perspective of the Economic Development Department, in consultation with the CEO, it is, my recommendation that, our recommendation that we move forward with option number three. And contextually, just to add, something to that, myself and Councillor Fadeev have been active in the province in trying to be at the right meetings and make the right connections. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a meeting that involved a private company out of England that's looking at expanding into North America, specifically Alberta, and is in a private-public relationship with the city of Manchester to operate their airport, and so they're looking at perhaps identifying a regional airport network process that they could support from a private-public relationship here in Alberta. Right, so we're doing what we can based on the 2022 to 2027 strategic plan from council. The direction was to identify opportunities to support the airport.
Okay, so Mr. Reid, I'll make the motion to accept admin's recommendation and go with option three.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Swigert, for making this motion. The council accepts the presentation by HM Aero Aviation Consulting regarding the interim project report for the Montreal Regional Airport Master Plan project as information, and furthermore directs administration to proceed with the finalized airport master plan with option 3 to adopt a focused approach to pursuing scheduled passenger air service connectivity at the airport, including completing and further market feasibility research and preliminary air service development efforts. Any discussion on this motion? Councillor Crick.
Yeah, so if we go ahead and, let's say we vote in favor, carry this motion, then does that mean that we're kind of committing to extending the runway for bigger jets, or I mean, what does it mean in practical terms, I guess? And the reason I'm asking is because I've only heard feedback from one ratepayer, and that's they were concerned that there was a plan, as I stated earlier, to extend the runway, which I hadn't heard anything of, so I just assured them that I hadn't heard anything of it, but now I am hearing talk about it, so I'm wondering where we're going.
Well, Josh, one thing I heard is that we already have decided to, extend and we've never made a motion or anything that would state that. You have to almost own the land first before you'd ever do something like that.
Good point,
So,
right?
if that straightens anything out, but go ahead.
Reeve Clancy through to Councillor Crick. So the master plan is a document that will provide us with the recommendations, right? So in moving forward with recommendation number 3 is the completion of the master plan recommendations. There is no commitment to any spending at this point in time. It's bringing back the information that's focused on those options. So before we go ahead and do anything, we would have a prospectus and we would have a 20 to 25 year financial operating cost, which you, at the will of council, would then decide to move forward with or not.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah,
I'm
so
hoping
we're-
I'm addressing the
We're
question.
basically getting these guys to come up with a plan and for where we want to go, and then
Correct.
we can decide if we want to go to that plan or
Yes.
slightly alter it or whatever, right?
Yeah, much like a recreation master plan or any other master plan, these are recommendations. They come back to us and then we decide whether we like it or we don't, or we want to make modifications. We ask them to bring it back to us.
Yeah, and
right?
there would
So
be,
it's,
and there would be chance for public consultation down.
that would be at the will of council, for sure.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? It just seems like every time we talk airport though, with, from oil companies to other, like the town even, they're not really, it doesn't seem like anyone's really on board with it, so, I don't know. Like we've asked for a few things and no one's really wants to step up. So if us as the MD are gonna take this whole commitment on by ourselves without anybody else in the area, well, it's a pretty big commitment, right off the hop. Go ahead, Councillor Swaggart.
I'll just comment, like, we've been talking about this for years, and, even the comment about extending the runway, that, we've talked about that like 10 years ago. So it's not new at all, but I mean, that's not the issue. That's not what we're talking about right now. But can you imagine, though, if we had a commercial airport here that people could fly from Edmonton or Calgary or whatever, it would just open up the whole area. You got people probably leaving because, they lived here all their life, but now they're just kind of tired of driving to Edmonton to hop on an airplane just to even go on holiday. And it would just open up the area, I guarantee it would. And anyway, we've been talking for a long time, and I think if at least we've got this company kind of looking at it, why don't we just try, go for what we want to do? And I guarantee if we're willing to put some money into this, it's going to benefit the town of Bonnyville tremendously, and residents and stuff too. So I think we'd get interest, from the town and support and from all the other, companies around also. But anyways, thanks.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's almost like you would, if you get commitment from everybody, then go forward. But if you have no commitment, it's tough to go ahead. But I see where you're coming from.
We need the plan to go ahead, so, yeah. We've been talking for too many years and kind of not made any progress, right? So.
You're, okay. Councillor Fideev, you want to weigh in on this? Maybe not.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll just wait for the study to come back and we'll kind of deal with it then.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. I guess we have another delegation here right away, so I'm sorry that we kept them waiting. So are they ready to go? Okay. Good morning, gentlemen. Sorry, it's my fault. We went a little bit too long, but you're up on the screen now, so thanks. Welcome.
Thank you for that. And don't apologize. It was an interesting discussion that we got to listen to, so thanks for that as well. We're here today to talk about some work we did with your economic development team. I'm just going to put up a presentation. Just give me 1 sec. Can everyone see that? It should be just a cover page of a presentation.
Yeah, it's coming up clearly, and we have it on
Perfect.
our council agenda package.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Reeve. So I'm here today with my colleague Kevin. We're going to go through a quick presentation. I know you folks just sat through something fairly lengthy, so we'll keep this as brief as we can. In short, we've been working with Lisa and Scott and Lisa for roughly about the past year, just to go through some of your previous work that you've done around your target sectors, looking at any gaps, looking at where you folks can improve in terms of your investment attraction and your investment readiness. And today we're just going to walk through what we did and some of the findings that we came up with. So we do have a few things we want to touch on, but as I mentioned, we'll keep it fairly brief. At the end of the day, I think what I want to impart, or the message I want to make sure that everyone around the council table understands, there's a lot of work going on within the MD. This is a good news story, specifically from an investment attraction perspective and an overall economic development perspective. You folks are going down the right road, and the gap analysis that we did, or that we undertook, what it really told us was you folks are doing the right things. It just takes a little bit of time, but you're committed and you're invested, and that's a big deal. So the MD about a year ago went out to the street and looked for some help to sort of do a review of their target sectors to make sure that they were still valid, and to look at any gaps or any areas of improvement and come up with a sort of a quick snapshot of some actions. So that's what we did. The focus for your target sectors was really looking at, your main 5 focal points, and they haven't changed, and they're still valid. So it's the procurement with respect to the Air Force wing that's just up the road from you folks. Energy, still valid. Renewable technologies, agriculture, and tourism. So through the work that we did, this all is still valid. It's still target sectors that make sense for you folks. And so keep focusing on them moving forward. So a little bit about us, and just the reason why I put this in here, Kevin and I are here today to talk to you about what we've done. We're called McSweeney & Associates. We're an economic development consulting firm. We work all across Canada. We mainly focus in Ontario and Alberta, mainly because Ontario and Alberta are at sort of the same stage when it comes to being investment ready, and the different communities that are focusing on investment readiness. But behind Kevin and I just want to let everyone know, we've got a very solid team. We've been around for about 25 years, and we focus mainly on 3 different points of specialty: data and statistical analysis, community investment readiness and investment attraction, and strategic planning. Those are our 3 main areas of focus that we work on every day. And this project, working with Scott and his team, we actually had to delve in deeply into these 3 levels, or these areas of ours. And it was an interesting project, to say the least. On the surface, you folks seem to be doing things right. And when you get into it, into the nuts and bolts of it, you are. And that's a big deal. We can't say that for all the clients that we work with. And I just want to tip my hat to Scott and his team. They're seasoned and they know what they're doing. and they're dedicated, and that's a big deal. I'll talk about it a little bit further on. So with respect to economic development and investment readiness, who are you folks? What's the MD all about? Well, realistically,
Excuse me, just 1 second. Yeah,
Yes.
Scott's head is swelling right now, so maybe don't say that anymore. It might blow up here. Yeah, thanks.
I'll step that down a little bit.
Yeah, excuse me.
I am being realistic though, and the first point I want to make, you do have an excellent team. And the reason why I say that is it's not just Scott and Lisa, it's also you folks around the table. You're dedicated, you know your community, you're focused on economic development, and that's a big deal. But when it comes to actually implementing stuff and making your economic development program operational, your team has experience, and I'm not blowing smoke here. That's something that's really hard to come by in the ECDev world these days. There's not a lot of professionals left out there that have been around long enough that they understand the framework of traditional economic development, of what it takes to get engaged in the community. And I think your team, Scott, Lisa, and yourselves, demonstrate that you've got the right stuff. If we were to work with anyone else that was new into the profession, or that hasn't seen as many miles, and I'm trying not to blow smoke here, it would be a whole different conversation, because it'd be more about getting your ECDev team engaged in the community, or getting them engaged in the province, or getting them to do the networking and the outreach. But that's happening, and that's a big thing. This report that you have in front of you, it was a true collaboration, and I will have to say, as Kevin and I went through the process, one of the things that we are meant to do is to pick out gaps, pick out where there's areas that the MD needs to improve. It was a bit of a challenge in the sense that every time we came up with something, your ECDev team would say, "Yeah, great idea. We've thought about that before. How can we make it happen? How can we make it real?" Your website, as an example, you're rebuilding a new ECDev website, and every time we came up with a solution or came up with a gap, next time we met, it was fixed. That doesn't happen in a lot of communities. In most places we work, it's often, okay, yeah, we'll get to it, or no, we've tried that, we can't do it. We're not hearing that here. We're hearing, yeah, sure, good idea. How do you make it happen? How do you do it within the budget constraints that we currently work within? And it's real. So what you see in front of you with the gap analysis, it's an evolution. It's something that we worked on closely with your ECDev team. But I can tell you it changed from December 31st of this year, or I guess of 2024, to where we are now. It kept evolving because they kept doing things that we pointed out. So that was nice to see. And we don't see that very often with a lot of our clients. So how do we get here to this point? The process that we went through, there was 3 phases that we followed. The first phase is more sort of what's going on in the community, taking a look at sort of what's been done in the past. Phase 2 is looking at the MD from a policy perspective. So what does your land use policies look like? How do you folks actually deliver economic development, that kind of stuff? And then the last one was really just sitting down with your team and saying, what realistically can you do? What are some priority actions that need to happen where you can really, make a huge impact with respect to your investment attractiveness into these sectors? So from a lit review, the one thing that we really pulled out of this, or the one thing that really jumped out at us, was that council, you are supportive of economic development. That's a great thing. There are some issues around workforce, and your sectors are really based on a lot of natural assets, whether it be oil and gas, agriculture, whatever it is. That's real, and that's documented, which is a good thing. When we looked at you folks from the numbers, so the stats and data analysis told us that your 3 biggest business types or employers within the region, and shouldn't come off as a surprise, it's oil and gas, agriculture, and construction, which also leads to tell us that you work, and people told us this, you work and you're very much open for business. And typically that's what we see in a lot of places where you are structured with oil and gas, agriculture, and construction. You're more blue collar, but you get it. You're real and you want to make things happen. And that's what people told us in the consultations, is that you folks are open for business. You're willing to take a risk. And, you know, one of the things that you're always looking for are solutions to deliver on opportunities. Again, that's a good thing. When we looked at the people that work here, and sort of, you know, what your workforce looks like, there are some issues that will need to be addressed. You are a working blue collar community, which is a good thing, because there's lots of activity within Alberta for the types of jobs that you have. But there also appears to be some shortage of labor, and that shortage of labor, it's a result of a bunch of different things, whether it be youth out migration, whether it be housing, whether it be just a transition in some of the employment that's there. There is a bit of a shortage right now of workers. Your land use policies also tell us that there's no hurdles, there's no roadblocks. There's nothing in your land use policies that would deter development or investment into any of the sectors that you're targeting. The one thing, though, is around your actual land that you have. So your industrial commercial land inventory, it's constantly evolving, and it's not complete yet. When I say inventory of land, I mean land that's on the market, that's for sale, that could be developed. So that's something that takes time to develop, and your ECDEV team are currently working on that. It's how you get out there and engage with all your landowners to figure out what's actually on the market, and it takes time, but that's something that's being addressed. In terms of overall observations, what does all this mean? Well, you do have a solid team working with you. It takes time to grow your economy. It takes time to see results from your investments. And you guys are making great strides. You're making the right investments. And I think everyone around the table understands that economic development isn't a project. It's a program. It's a long-term investment that you're making into the community. And that's actually showing through the projects that we've reviewed, and just from the discussions we've had with your ECDEV team. There's also one of the things we did notice when we went into this project. Kevin and I came into it with sort of that lens of, if we're an investor, what are some of the things that the community should really look at in terms of improving, so that I, as an investor, have a bit more of a comfort level around my level of risk. So if I'm going to invest in the community, what are some of the things that I need? And there were some gaps, but we're noticing as the program or the project evolved, those gaps were getting smaller and smaller because your ECDEV team kept making strides or kept doing things to really close those gaps or to get rid of the obstacles. There's two very specific actionable items that your team is currently working on, and it'll take time to improve on these, and it'll take investment as well. One of them is your supply of industrial land or employment land. It's as I mentioned, it's a constant evolution. Some land might be on the market this month but be taken off. It's how do you keep an eye on what's out there, so that if an investor comes along, you can present them real opportunities on where they can actually invest or develop or start a business. And the other part is just continually engaging with your business community. That's very labor intensive. It takes a lot of time, and your ECDEV team, they know that this is something that they need to do. And it's something that they're looking at different solutions and different opportunities to become more involved and engaged in the community. But these are two real things that, you know, this will never stop. Those are two activities that your ECDEV team will constantly have to be striving for to make sure that you're investment ready. So after all we've done, the work that we've done, the analysis that we've undertaken, your 5 target sectors are still valid. There's no reason to veer. There's no reason to look anywhere else. They still make sense. It's just how do you continually work within the community to make sure that you would give a business the best opportunity to invest within the MD. So to the actionable parts, what came out of this that's important? Well, there's 5 actions that we've pulled out of this. They're very specific, very deliverable. But the one thing that we want to mention is with these actions, you folks are staying in your lane. And I just want to point out, when you're working within municipal economic development, it is critical that you don't try to reach too far into some other area, whether it's a province that should be looking after something or it's a regional thing. The actions that are in front of us, they're very dedicated, they're very specific, and they're within the MD's ability to deliver. So the first one is with respect to your investment readiness, your investment attraction efforts. There's a lot of work that's been going on to see what kind of investment you can get within the community from outside. And that's still valid. But take a lot of that effort and energy to see how people within the MD can reinvest. So use a lot of your investment attraction efforts to really milk investment from within. Continue with your business outreach and your survey program to really build that connection with your local community. It's important that these relationships and these networks get strengthened over time, because really that's where most of the investment is going to come from, is from businesses that are already within the MD. And through this engagement and this partnership, really find out how can you engage your businesses and help them or make it easier for them to do business with Cold Lake. There's lots of opportunities up there. It's really how do you make sure that your local businesses not only know about the opportunities, but want to get engaged and take advantage of those business opportunities. There's a tool that you can develop. It's called a investor-focused community profile. It's really taking everything that the MD has and compiling it into a document so that if an investor comes along, you basically have all the answers to all their questions in one document. That's what a profile is. And the last one is just continuing to build out your MD's ECDEV and investment attraction website. That's your eyes on the world. So the more improvements you can make, the more information you can get up there, the more you can keep it up to date, the better it is to attract and retain investment within the MD. So that's something that's pretty critical. And that's it. That's the end of our show. Any questions?
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm looking across here. I don't see any at the moment. Councillor Faddeev, you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Well done.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we have a question. One sec.
Okay.
Councillor Swaggart.
You talked about industrial land. I just wondered how many, municipalities can own land and then have industrial land, I guess, for sale or whatever. But is that recommended though? That like how many municipalities actually have land that they've purchased, to hope that industry will move in and buy it? Is that common or not common?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's an excellent question. There's no one answer to it. The problem is you need to understand what your supply is first. And if your supply matches up with the sectors that you're trying to attract, then realistically, you don't need to become investors in industrial land. But if you don't have land, or if the current landowners aren't willing to move on it, they're just sitting on it, then there's a possibility that you may want to go out and understand what your land needs are and purchase some land and be a land developer. And yes, there are a lot of municipalities that do that. Typically, though, before you get there, you want to make sure that you know your market. You want to know, what is your current land supply, or what's your land supply in 5 years, and is that stuff going to hit the market? And I don't think you're quite there yet. So for the MD, you've got a bit of work before you get there, but I think that might be on the horizon where you may want to consider how to become involved in the land development game. Just one piece of advice: if you do go down that road, just make sure that you have the expertise to close on land deals and to be a land developer. Because a lot of municipalities that we've dealt with have gone down that road. They've made the investment, they bought land, they put infrastructure into the ground, and then when it came to selling the land, often they'll sell it and the developer or the landowner won't do anything with it because the proper incentives weren't in place or the proper policies weren't in place to make them move on it. The last thing you want to do is go out and invest in the community's future by looking at investing in some industrial land. You sell it all off and then it sits there. That's not the point of this exercise. It's really to get some activity, generate jobs, get some more investment, get some tax revenue. So if you do go down that road, just make sure that it's well thought out and you do have the expertise in-house or on retainer to help you move that stuff along.
Thank you for that, gentlemen. I don't see any other questions, so thank you once again and have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep, bye. All right, gentlemen, just looking for a motion to accept this. Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeves Carson, for making this motion. The council accepts presentation by McSweeney and Associates Consulting Corporation with respect to industrial gap analysis as information. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. And at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go into subdivision applications, so 8.1.
I do believe there's one DA that got missed.
I do believe you're exactly right. That's 7.2. Thank you. I've been weighed and measured. Good job. Yes, the lady I cut off. Continue.
Okay, this is Development Permit Application 2025-D-138. The applicant is Imperial Oil Resources Limited. The applicant is applying for a temporary work camp for 2 years. The property is north of Imperial Oil's Nabier plant. Adjacent properties are Crown Land quarter sections. The applicant would like to set up a work camp for 2 years to host auxiliary staff for drilling contractors for a drilling program in the area that cannot be safely located on the rig leases. It will be comprised of 6 skid shacks. Water and waste will be hauled in and out, and the skid shacks will be hauled out at the end of the 2-year period. There will be approximately 6 passenger vehicles driving in and out during the drilling program. The camp has been approved by Alberta Forestry and Parks, and TFA 252028 has been issued. The land use bylaw allows for a development permit for a work camp to be issued for up to 1 year, at which time an applicant may make an application for a continuance for an additional year. The applicant indicated that they will need it for 2 years and would like the permit for that duration. There were no adjacent landowners to notify. Our recommendation for development application 2025-D-138 is approve the request for a temporary work camp for 2 years as a discretionary use as per Part 6, Section 66, and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw with the following conditions. Applicable building, electrical, plumbing, and sewer permits are required as per Alberta Safety Codes Act. Shall comply with Consolidated Public Safety Bylaw number 1812, shall comply with all provincial and federal regulations, and the camp is approved until June 30th, 2027, at which time a new permit is required or reclamation shall be undertaken. Any questions?
Thank you. Just looking for a motion, gentlemen. Councillor Swigert? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. No, I'll make the motion to approve the camp.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Swigert, for making this motion. The council approves development permit application number 2025-D-138 for a temporary work camp for 2 years at Southwest 3666-3 west of the 4th M as discretionary use pursuant to Part 6, Section 66 and Part 7, Section 69.2 of the Land Use Bylaw for Imperial Oil Resources Limited with the following conditions 1 through 4 before you. Any discussion, gentlemen, on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now do I go to 8.1? All right, 8.1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Administration is presenting subdivision application 2025-S009 for council's consideration. This application proposes a consolidation of Plan 0727818, Block 1, Lot 1, and the south part of Southeast 16617 west of the 4th, and subsequent subdivision to create a 36-acre parcel and a 50-acre parcel with a road plan in between from a previously subdivided agricultural quarter section as shown on the map in Appendix A. Notification of the proposed subdivision was sent to referral agencies and adjacent landowners with a deadline of June 17th to submit concerns to be considered at the July 8th council meeting. No concerns have been received regarding this application. The subject site is located south of Highway 660 and north of Moose Lake Gospel Camp. The application does not comply with the municipality's land use bylaw, section 69.4 BI. The 4 parcels or less total a maximum of 8.09 hectares, 20 acres subdivided from the quarter section. That's not fragmented. However, within the Municipal Government Act, Section 6542A, the proposed subdivision would not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land, and it would align with best planning practices. Therefore, it is recommended that the proposed subdivision be approved as per the Municipal Government Act, Section 6542A, with the following conditions. Pursuant to MGA Section 655, all approaches, culverts, and internal roads be installed, that a 30-meter wide service road right-of-way be dedicated across the entire frontage of the proposed 36-acre parcel along Highway 660 to be registered by Caveat, that the applicant contact TELUS Communications regarding a utility right-of-way agreement and all outstanding property taxes to be paid.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion, or if anyone has any questions. Okay, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making this motion. The council approves subdivision application number 2025-S-009 for the consolidation of plan 0727818, Block 1, Lot 1, and south part of Southeast 16617 west of the 4th Meridian to create a 36-acre parcel and a 50-acre parcel for the MD of Monterville number 87 as per the following conditions 1 through 4 before you. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Swaggart.
So I think of the boneyard, that's what we call it, I think. Is that the 50-acre parcel? Like I guess I'm not sure about the boneyard, and is it just kind of a dumping ground for our stuff that we don't? It used to be culverts and stuff we threw there. I'm just curious what administration sort of proposes to do with that 50-acre parcel and I guess also the 36-acre parcel, but I'm not opposed to doing it. I'm just kind of curious what what we might do with those areas.
I believe the boneyard is the parcel to the east. I'm not sure what the future plans would be for it, if any change at all.
Okay, maybe we'll get some input someday from, admin. They can go take a tour and see what's there and figure out what we'll end up doing with it. Anyway, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? We have some garbage bins there too, correct, Matt? Yeah, right beside so when you drive in, there's a garbage site there, and then there's a gate to go into the boneyard, and the boneyard is to the east of the road. And then if you keep going, you go to that gospel camp. Yeah. Right, any other discussion? I'm seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried, thank you. On to 8.2.
Good morning.
Morning.
Administration is presenting subdivision application 2025-S-011 for council consideration. The applicant is proposing a consolidation of 1.72 acres from Southwest 10, 615 West the 4th remnant parcel to Plan 8121442 Lot A, as shown on the map. The subject site is located along Range Road 453 east of Charlotte Lake. Notification for the proposed subdivision was sent to referral agencies and adjacent landowners with a deadline of June 19th for submitting concerns to be considered at the July 8th council meeting. No concerns have been received regarding this application. The proposed parcel is a landlocked piece of property that is not accessible from the remnant parcel. Can I get you to go to the next map, please? Oh, that's it. Perfect. With that being said, the decisions have been circulated, the council Administration recommends that council approves the subdivision application number 2025-S-011 for consolidation of 1.72 acres from Southwest 10, 61.5 west of 4 for the town of Bonnyville on behalf of Clement and Marlene Cote as per the following conditions. Pursuant to Section 655 of the Municipal Government Act, that the existing lot described as Plan 8121422 Lot A be consolidated with proposed 1.72 acre parcel prior to or concurrent with registration. And the number 2, that all outstanding property taxes be paid. It would fall within good practices if we were to, it would align with the best planning practices to be able to consolidate that into there, as there is no legal physical access for that little chunk there by himself.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making this motion that council approves subdivision application number 2025-S011 for consolidation of 1.72 acres from southwest of 10, 61.5 west of 4th Meridian for the town of Bonnyville on behalf of Clement and Marlene Cote as the following conditions 1 through 2 before you. Any discussion on this motion, gentlemen? Yes, Councillor Swaggart.
Thanks, Mr. Reeve. Sorry, I don't quite understand what that means. Like the top,
Can we bring that map, please,
there,
back
just,
up?
the top map says proposed 1.72 acres to be subdivided. And then, but then the other aerial view says consolidated. I don't understand the drawing there, or like consolidated into the bigger chunk. Consolidated means put together as part of something else, does it? Like,
So through the Reeve, currently on title, the green part that is marked out is all on one title. So that green part on the north, and then that little chunk that is outlined in red on the south are on one title.
okay,
So what the applicant is proposing is to take that small 1.72 acre parcel on the south side of that property to consolidate it into the town lot, which is all of that area around it.
okay, consolidate it with, sorry, somebody coughed actually as you said something there. So consolidate it with,
The brown stuff that's around it, is that correct?
Yes, it would be the piece that is just directly west of where that little chunk is. So that holds its own title. So that piece would be consolidated to the town parcel, which is currently the lagoon site.
oh, okay, yeah, thank you. That makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
9.2.1.
Mr. Reeve and all the council.
Good morning.
I'm here to present the amendment to policy number C-2B.042, the corporate credit card policy. So administration has prepared an amendment to the policy for council's approval. The amendment will allow the chief administrative officer to have the flexibility to sign credit cards. This amendment will allow administration to have the flexibility in assigning the credit cards upon the basis of operational demands. The amendment also allows the process for credit card changes to be quick and efficient. Attached for council's review is Appendix A, which is the corporate credit card policy. In there, you can see some of the changes, especially to the policy where it says the assigning of the MD positions. With the restructuring of some of the positions we've had, we're just making it a little bit easier so that it says other MD staff at the CAO's discretion. So administration's recommended action is that council adopts amended policy number C-2B.042, corporate credit card policy as presented.
Okay, thank you. Anybody want to make a motion or any questions? Councillor Swaggart. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Swager, for making this motion that council adopts amending policy number C-2B.042 corporate credit card policy as presented. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Okay.
On to 9.2.2.
Yes, so this is amending the master rates bylaw. Administration has prepared an amended master rates bylaw to update Schedule A, master rates and fees schedule for council's approval. The following amendments have been made and are included in the attached bylaw 1899 draft. Bylaw 1899 receiving first reading June 24th of 2025. The changes are there within, and administration's recommended action is that the bylaw number 1899 being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87 to amend the master rates bylaw be given second reading as well as third reading.
Thank you. Looking for a motion, gentlemen. Thank you, Councillor Swaggart, for making the motion that bylaw number 1899 being a bylaw of the municipal district of Bonnyville number 87 to amend the master rates bylaw be given second reading. Any discussion on this motion? Yes, Councillor Crick.
Yeah, I just kind of, I know we already gave it first reading, but just giving a little look through the waste recovery pricing and stuff. I noticed in there clean wood, like untreated lumber, trees, branches, $25 a ton, and then compost, mulch, and grass, $25 a ton. Do we currently charge for that stuff, like through the review administration?
I'm not the expert in that field, so I'm going to ask for someone to come up that has those answers.
And I guess like in part of this is basically due to the scale, I think, going in Macquarie, but we accept some of that stuff other landfills as well.
Correct.
And I'm wondering, like, I wouldn't want to see us charging for stuff like tree branches and compost, and then people start dumping it in the ditch because they don't want to pay to dump it at the landfill rates.
Through the Reeve to Councillor Crick, to my understanding, no, it won't be charged at other landfills. This will be charged to commercial entities that use the LaCorey landfill that we can weigh. This is for larger loads and projects that will be coming into and using our site at LaCorey. So for residents that are just cleaning up their yards and sites, no, it won't be. There won't be any charge. So it'll be more directed to industry and commercial.
Okay. And then another one here, and this is partly due to my own experience in the industry, is the shingles. I think I mentioned something of that last time. So do we actually incur a cost when we take the shingles in? Like, I know we grind them up and maybe we're still looking for use for them and stuff. And the reason I ask is I just know anybody that would do any. So I think if my understanding is correct, if somebody shingles their own roof, they bring their shingles in, there's no charge for them. But if one of the roofing contractors in the area brings shingles in, then there would be a charge for them, right? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
But then essentially if they're bringing them from the town out of the municipality, that's good because we need to recoup those costs. But if they're doing a job for someone, which I think most people would hire a contractor to do their roof, then that cost is really getting passed on to the customer anyways, to the ratepayers in the MD.
That's right.
Just for clarity.
Yeah, it's for, again, commercial use, yes, there is a charge. So we do tell people if they don't want to incur that cost, that they're more than welcome to, like if a contractor come in and shingles their house, that they bring in the shingles themselves in their trailer, there's no cost. If the contractor does come and dispose, yes, there is a cost. We do incur costs when we're doing the piling up of those shingles into a bigger pile. And then when we do have enough to shred, that we do have to pay for that service. So yes, there is some costs incurred from municipality. So if you're going to do it yourself or bring it in yourself, there's no cost. And we do majority of the shingles, like if there's any large loads, we do get people to take them to LaCorey. We don't typically take them into Ardmore or any of the other landfills because it does take up a lot of room into the pit. So.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, what's the average cost of like a house of shingles of a guy? What would that cost a resident?
You know,
Hard to say.
Yeah, hard to say. I haven't been involved in so many years. I would say it would probably be maybe $100.
Okay.
I know we did up our fees a little bit to be more comparable to the town of Bonnyville and the city of Cold Lake, so more comparable. Before it was just, we went off the size of the trailers that were coming in.
Right.
So now that we're able to weigh the loads, they'll be very comparable
Yeah.
to the other sites.
What you have on is what you pay for.
Yeah,
So just in answer to your question, I shingled the roof, took a load of shingles in 3-4 years ago to Cold Lake, and it was just an average house. But it was $170 to dump the load there.
okay.
And prior to that, like years back when I used to do roofing all the time, it was like $50-$60 a load. So I was, if I had the time, I might have gone back up and scooped all the shingles back up, tried to take them somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so I believe like
Probably
when,
gonna be.
when people would drop off at prior to us, doing the weights here, it would be in that probably $100 for that size of load, but it will be increasing.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this motion? I'm not seeing, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Just looking for another motion, gentlemen.
Sorry about that.
Hey, I done it already today. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Scarson, for making this motion that bylaw number 1899 be given third reading. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. 9.2.3.
Good morning, Reeve and Council.
Good morning.
I'm here to present the 2026 Department Business Plans Part 2. You heard the first part at the last meeting. Department business plans are developed to align with Council's vision and to drive your 2022 through 2027 strategic plan. Within each business plan, departmental vision and mission statements have been developed to more closely reflect the department's purpose. However, they remain closely aligned with Council's vision and mission statements. Today's presentations will be from the CAO's Office, Infrastructure Services, Community Services, and Economic Development. And Ben will be starting it off with the Senior Leadership Business Plan.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council and Reeve. Administration and senior team commits to this council and everybody that lives in the MD with the understanding that we care and will move forward with the ideas of our vision. The MD of Bonnyville administration is a leader in innovation, creativity, and economic development services. Our mission will be to support council in the development of their policies and to support the team, the staff, and the people around us, including the ratepayers, with the process of creating safe and sustainable future in our community. Key successes and focuses for us for the next year will be in the executive leadership, interdepartment communication. That means removing silos and barriers, planning and development, sustainability, being creative around the ideas of adding new resources to our community. Oversight in municipal operations, that means the field teams ranging from mowers to operations in infrastructure will get out and meet the ratepayers. We'll have one unified voice that supports council. We'll be organizing innovation for the future and new and creative ways to manage the future. I'd like to now call up customer services.
Good morning, Mr. Reeve and Council.
Good morning.
Our vision statement is to provide efficient, knowledgeable, professional customer service to the organization and the community. To consistently deliver exceptional customer service and exceed expectations. Our key services that we provide are customer service. We manage internal and external mail and
office supplies for our building and our boardrooms, and we provide administrative support to all different departments in our municipality. And then I can call up Sam in HR and payroll.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so for HR and payroll, our business plan, our vision statement is we are leaders in providing innovative, confidential, and efficient human resources and payroll services. Our mission is fostering a positive, inclusive, and dynamic workplace where talent thrives while striving to be the employer of choice in the region. And our key services provided are our recruitment and retention, benefit administration, payroll, which includes the budget forecasting, compliance, and confidentiality. And I will call up legislative and information services next. Did I go over here? Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
So legislative and information services, our vision is that our department is an expert in legislation and records management and an innovator in local municipal governance and services. Our mission is to support and ensure compliance in all legislative functions of the municipality. Our key services include administrative, secretariat, and procedural support for council, supporting all departments with drafting and amending municipal legislation, facilitating and supporting the compliance of applicable legislation and the municipal records management program throughout the municipality, organizing and managing municipal elections and census, managing all public requests for information, and providing advanced case management and administrative support for the Municipal Joint Assessment Review Board and Intermunicipal Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. Next will be marketing and communications.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Our vision statement, we are leaders and innovators in internal and external communications and trusted sources of information. We are dedicated stewards of our brand, proudly representing and uplifting our organization and our community. Our mission, we provide accurate, timely, and transparent information while striving to showcase the MD as a desirable place to live, work, and visit. Our key services include internal and external communications, marketing and promotion of the municipality, including Kinnisu Ridge, brand protection, reputation management, catalog and archive photography and videography, and emergency management communications. Ben, back to you.
Thank you. I'd like to call up infrastructure.
Morning, Council. I'm here to present the departmental business plans for fleet facilities and utilities and transportation services. For fleet facilities and utilities, our vision statement that we are stewards of assets delivering high quality, reliable services that meet stakeholder needs. Our mission statement is to provide exceptional and proactive services to maintain and update fleet and infrastructure. Some of our key services that we provide are operate and maintain fleet, facilities and utilities, infrastructure maintenance. We oversee capital projects such as, but not limited to, roads, bridges, drainage, and buildings. Water and sewer services, customer service, internal and external, budget management, project and asset management, and we follow applicable codes of practices. Next, we have transportation services. The vision is that we are a team that is committed to quality, efficient, and consistent transportation services. Our mission is to keep the community moving safely on our roads through all seasons. And the key services are road maintenance and repair, signage, drainage, brushing, bridge maintenance, airport maintenance and operation, support other departments in the Bonnyville Regional Fire Authority, environmental assessments, road use agreements, customer service, snow removal, and maintain the Iron Horse Trail, and 24-hour emergency response, which would include our on-call phone number there. Pass it along to community services.
Thank you.
Good morning, Reeve and Council.
Morning.
So Community Services, we are the frontline partner with the citizens and community committed to creating a safe, healthy, and vibrant MD. Canuso Ridge Resort, the vision, is a premier recreation and community destination known for promoting an inclusive environment and exceptional experiences. Mission, create a premier all-season community destination for adventure and recreation and hospitality. Key services, ski hill, ski and snowboard lessons, equipment rentals and servicing, 41 acres of skiable terrains serviced by snowmaking, two fixed quad chairs and 2 carpet lifts, freestyle ski, Canuso Park Academy, the CADS program, high ropes course, which is our adventure park, 2 park with carpet lift, target golf, community events and private booking venue, wedding venue, school, summer camps and programs, concession services, and customer services. Parks and recreation. We create and maintain vibrant, accessible, and sustainable parks and recreation opportunities that enrich the community's well-being, foster connection, and inspire lifelong enjoyment of nature and active lifestyles. The mission is to develop high-quality, sustainable, and thriving recreation and community services. Key services within Parks and Recreation: manage and maintain park spaces, ball diamonds, ice rinks, playgrounds, manage and maintain recreation campgrounds and associated amenities, manage and maintain boat launches and docks, trail maintenance and development, walking, Nordic, and multi-use, operate tourism, visitor information, and interpretive center, support for community groups, and municipal reserve maintenance. Thank you. Over to...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you said a lot that
Press your mic.
I'll press my mic.
Yeah, we're good.
It off.
I got her now.
I think I had a couple of things to say, but now, oh yeah, the first one was, we did weddings for a while, then hadn't done it for a long time. So how's that going, kind of weddings and rental is that advertised well enough and you're getting lots of that now, or are we just growing that?
We are just currently growing this. This is for the 26 business plan.
Okay.
So we have gone through a few senior administrators within REC. It had gone to them several times. Now, within week 7 of my adventure in senior leadership, we will be moving that forward as it is a viable plan. Obviously, knowing earlier in the season really helps with our programming needs, as it's tough to have an aerial course and a wedding and various other elements going on at once. So for next season, we will be developing that wedding package. We are also working with marketing. We have all our material just going through final review with marketing.
Okay, and then my other question was, we did discuss boat launch, community docks some time ago, and I think you were kind of doing some research and so maybe you can, in the future, maybe have a discussion. I don't know if we have time for that now, probably, but I don't think you're finished maybe working on that, but.
Through the reef, Councillor Swigert, we are going to be bringing items forward for the 26 capital budget regarding those items for mooring systems and docking systems.
Thanks, appreciate that, because it's we're still having issues at Crane Lake and probably some of the other lakes where there's just more and more stuff appearing and people aren't so pleased with it, and I'm not sure how the MD should get involved, but we are involved anyway because we're still writing these letters of kind of approval, but yeah. Anyway, I think a community dock may solve a lot of problems for these backlot owners who don't have access, but appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up Parks and Recreation.
No.
Oh, my apologies. Planning and Development.
Good morning again, Council. Economic Development's vision is Municipal District of Bonnyville is a leader and an innovator in local municipal governance, services, and economic prosperity. The vision develop a prosperous, sustainable, and safe community. Services provided, business retention, expansion, and attraction, collect and interpret and present data to promote investment, diversify the local economy to increase employment and revenue opportunities, and to partner with internal departments to support the MD's strategic priorities. Thank you.
So to round it off for even council, this administration team and senior management promises this council and everybody that lives in our community, we're moving forward with innovation. We care and trust, and we will continue to move forward with creative ideas.
That was well done. Thank you, everyone.
Administration's recommendation action is that council accept the 2026 departmental business plan presentations for the CAO office, infrastructure services, community services, and economic development as information.
Just looking for a motion. Councillor Crick, thank you for making this motion that council accepts the 2026 departmental business plan presentations for the CEO office, infrastructure service, community services, economic development as information. Any discussion? I just want to say we're blessed to have each and every one of you, and thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. 9.3.1.
Hello again.
Hello.
Administration is proposing for first reading approval for road closure and disposal bylaw number 1898, authorizing the MD of Bonnyville to close and dispose of by direct sale at fair market value portions of undeveloped public roadway within Northeast 10, 617 west of the 4th Meridian, as shown on the map in Appendix A, and in accordance with policy number C-3A.022, disposal of roadways policy. The applicant has requested to close and purchase and consolidate the portions of roadway into their 71.97 acre parcel, as the undeveloped portions of this 1965 subdivision road plan are no longer necessary. If council approves first reading, referrals will be conducted and a public hearing will be held prior to administration requesting approval from the Minister of Transportation and Economic Corridors. Administration is recommending that council give first reading to bylaw number 1898.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion, gentlemen. Yes, thank you, Councillor Scarson, for making, Deputy Reeve Scarson for making this motion that bylaw number 1898 being a bylaw of the municipal district of bylaw number 87 for the propose of closing for a public travel and disposing of portions of a public roadway to be given first reading. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. On to correspondence.
Thank you, Reeve and Council. Item number 10, correspondence and information. We have 6 items. I'd like to bring to your attention is 10.5. A letter from Kewski High Camp, a thank you. And that's it for administration and correspondence.
Thank you. Just looking for a motion to accept correspondence or any discussion or anybody has anything. Okay, thank you, Councillor Crick, for making a motion that council accepts the following correspondence as information 1 through 6 before you. Any discussion on this motion? I'm seeing none. I'll call for the vote. That's carried. Thank you. Starting off with reports from members of council who would ever like to go first. Deputy Scarson.
Well, a few minor things. I went to the Alberta government had an open house on the lines they're drawing in the town of Bonnyville. I was able to kind of reiterate the importance of the road all the way to Vezo Beach and how much work it needs there as far as traffic safety and all that. So anyways, the lines on the main street are going to be interesting to see. It'll look a lot like Railroad Ave when it's done. So we'll see how that, and they're doing turning signals and all that stuff on the traffic lights. So there'll be an adjustment period there for sure. So anyways, the other one was the Canada Day festivals, I guess. We did the parade in Cold Lake and the parade in Bonnyville. Always amazing to see how many people are in the Bonnyville parade watching. It kind of blows me away every year. And the town did a pretty good job, I thought, too, with the party in the park. There was thousands and thousands of people in that park for that concert and stuff. So it was neat to see. And other than that, I got the Winter Games meeting next week and the BRFA meeting next week. So I won't really report on those till next council. So
Thank you, Deputy Reeves Carson. Councillor Swaggart.
Regional Utility Service Commission in Cold Lake. So we did have a meeting last night, and I guess the highlight was the tour of the moving bed bioreactor facility that they're building beside the Beaver River. And I think it would probably be wise for maybe admin to reach out to Cold Lake and just have a tour of the facility for council and whoever else wants to see it. But it's it's a pretty amazing, like a $35 million investment, and I guess what you don't know. So it'd be kind of nice to get out and see it. It's very impressive, and it's getting close to completion. So, yeah, thank you.
Councillor Crick.
Had an FCSS board meeting, and I also stopped in at the Highway 28 thing in Bonnyville, the open house there. I had more questions about the highway between Bonnyville and Cold Lake than the highway that goes through town, and talked to Michael from the transportation department. Yeah, did get some information from him. Basically, the twinning, they're doing some work this year, and they've got design on for passing lanes and intersection treatments all the way from where they're working close by Redwater now, all the way to Cold Lake. I had seen some surveyors out on the highway there, so I stopped and asked them. They said they're surveying for passing lanes. So that work will happen in the next year or two. And then twinning is probably 3-4 years out, it sounds like, but they're still planning to do it, according to what he said. And then also just attended the Canada Day, the parade in Cold Lake and in Bonnyville, and I just want to say thank you to the staff, whoever was involved in making the vote for us to go in that, so thank you. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Councillor Fadeev.
Yeah, thanks. So June 30th, we had an appreciation barbecue at the C2 Center for the staff there. That was awesome. Just a big thanks and show them some love that we appreciate all the work they do. We had a last meeting at the library in Cold Lake. July 1st, the festivities were awesome in the city of Cold Lake and the town of Bonnyville. So thanks for that. Let's see, one more here. So yeah, Gear Grabbers, which was the weekend of the 4th, 5th, and 6th. They're looking at some rains. Everybody kind of skedaddled earlier, but on Saturday they had 556 racers enjoy the lanes at the regional airport, which was very exciting to see. And I think there was some coverage in Lakeland today. There's an article written on that. So big thanks to all the volunteers of making our area a great area. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for that. Thank you.
Thanks. I guess I had a Cold Lake High School grad that I attended. There was I think 170 to 180 kids there. It's quite a big grad. We had a lot of fun. I just thought it was weird that everyone was in real cheap shoes and cowboy boots, and I'm wondering, like, why are all these girls in these little? But they brought it to my attention that they're actually having the grad ceremonies the next day. So this is just to run through the diplomas and everything, or give them their stuff. So they're just kind of had their capes on and they're going through the motions. The next day was the bigger. So I was just wondering, man, there's everyone these cow kickers on and little sandals and the dresses. There was real no fancy dresses. Took me a while to figure it out, and then I talked to Copeland beside me. He goes, "Oh no, there's another thing tomorrow." So it's kind of funny for a while there, anyway. But I figured it out after a while. And also Canada Day, I attended both parades, and just a quick shout out to met a bunch of cadets that are training cadets in Cold Lake, and I had a blast with these guys just off the parade. So there's a bunch of senior cadets here all over from Canada that are training cadets at our military station, CFB there. So just a shout out to them. They really made my Canada Day in Cold Lake. And also I have to, what Councillor Deputy Reeves Scarson said, the party in the park was amazing, and I got to give kudos to the town of Bonneville for putting that on. And I wasn't at the Cold Lake celebration, but there was a lot of people there, so kudos to the Cold Lake Council and staff there for putting on a great event in Cold Lake area as well. So I think we had a lot of, we do it well here. So that's it for me. Thank you. Anything in closed session? Nope. All right. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Councillor Crick, for making that motion to adjourn. All those in favor, or I call for the vote? Or is there a vote? Carried. How does that sound? Thank you.